Hello again. It's Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit, talking sprint car racing, our favorite time of the week, and we are so glad that you have joined us. I'm Steve Post. I'm in the Hercules Tires studios in Concord, North Carolina. Ashley Stremme in the Lethal Chassis studios up in Pennsylvania joins us. Hello, Ashley. How are you?
I am fabulous, coming off a weekend here at home for once, finally, and got to go to the Speed Palace and watch some sprint car racing for the Greg Hodnett Memorial this weekend at Port Royal.
Well, and that's why so many people dislike you, because you get to just go right down the road to Port Royal, and the rest of us have to travel 10 hours to get there. But no, what a night they had there with the double features there as far as that goes, and Logan Wagner and Brent Marks getting the win. Both of those guys geared up for Knoxville as well.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Both hitting their strides, especially Brent right now. Huge gains he's made over the last few months. It's going to be incredible to watch him at Knoxville for sure.
Speaking of incredible, and speaking of Knoxville, they're already rolling in to the famed Marion County Fairgrounds. Ashley, how this is something. I did the Cars Tour race at Hickory on Saturday night. Asphalt, stock cars. I'm in the parking lot, making my way over to sign in. A guy comes running up. Postman, when do you leave for Knoxville? I'm like, I'm at Hickory. And I said, we don't go till next Wednesday. He was leaving Tuesday of this week to get out there, so he's there all 10 days. The campgrounds, the hotels, everything in Knoxville is filling up. Boy, there's an energy and there's an excitement in the air, that's for sure.
Well, especially because it didn't happen last year, right? I know they made place of the Knoxville Nationals, but so it's going to be bigger and better than I think it's ever been, just because everyone's excited to get back.
And especially excited to get back will be Shane Stewart. And so we're going to talk to Shane here on the program. Neat stuff. And this past Saturday night was the final tune-up, if you will. It was the Flow Racing All-Star Circuit of Champions out at Knoxville, the final 410 race. Well, we have the Capitani Classic, okay? But the final weekly 410 race before the Nationals set in. What a race it was. You had Spencer Baston, you had Gio Scelzi, and man, one of the hottest drivers in America right now, Kerry Madsen mixing it up. Here's Tony Bachhoven on the call. It was on Dirt Vision.
And now for the Dryden Death-defying Move of the Week, where one driver simply amazes us with their on-track moves.
Spencer Baston looking to the outside of Madsen now for second. Madsen slides up to block as they enter into turn one. Madsen to the bottom. Spencer Baston to the top, racing for the lead in turn two. Kerry Madsen takes it back from Giovanni Scelzi.
That death-defying move was brought to you by Dryden Diesel All Death, the official DEF of the world of outlaws and wheelmen everywhere. Visit Dryden.com for more information.
Pride. Passion. Performance. We are Team Dryden.
It is Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit. We talked about it in the opening. There's so much excitement, so much energy for the Knoxville Nationals. It's the 60th running of the NOS Energy Knoxville Nationals. We think our energy level is high. I can't imagine the energy level of our guest who joins us on the Hercules Tire Hotline. Shane Stewart is on the line. Hello, Shane. Welcome back to Wing Nation.
I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a little while since I've talked to you.
Well, it's been a little while. And we had said goodbye to you as a race car driver, as a track operator. Something in the back of my mind at that point said, we're going to talk to Shane again sometime down the road. And sure enough, here we are. You're getting ready to go run and try to qualify for your 20th consecutive Knoxville Nationals with Justin Marks and with Bernie and Betsy. How did this deal come together for you, Shane?
Well, it's a little bit of a long story, but I actually had another team reach out to me about driving a second car, and that kind of treaded, and I got some people involved, and it was looking pretty promising, and then it fell through, and just kind of lit a little fire in my belly, and so after that deal fell through, I reached out to Bernie because I wasn't sure. Like, me and Bernie stayed in contact a little bit here and there, and of course I've been following his team and, you know, what Spencer kind of did there at Bristol and the few races that he had ran. And I wasn't sure what his situation was for the Knoxville Nationals, and I knew he was helping Gio. So I asked him, I said, hey, are you even interested in doing the Nationals with someone? And he said, well, who's that someone? And I said, well, what about me? And he shot me a text pretty quick back, said, yeah, I would do something with you. So about a week went by, and my good old buddy, Just Marks, which I've been staying in contact with him, and he's always asking, how the progress is going at Port City. And, we've together have been trying to rack our brains about how to get him involved on the Port City side of things. And that conversation led into Knoxville, and he said, well, I might be interested in doing something with you and Bernie, and not realizing that he was going to come back and say, what about maybe possibly having a track house car? And so we went back and forth a little bit, and he said, let's do it. So honestly, that all kind of came about in probably, I don't know, a 30-minute conversation. And so we got the design done, or the people at Track House got the car design all figured out, and then we were able to post it. But excited for the opportunity. I didn't, honestly, when I bought Port City, and it still is my main focus, I didn't think my schedule was. The track has always taken the week of the Knoxville Nationals off, and of course that wasn't going to be any different this year. But once I got there and got involved and seen how much work's involved, and I, in my mind, was thinking, we could either do a family vacation somewhere, or I can spend that weekend off, fixing things up around the track. And because there's just always something to do. There's always something to fix or something to clean. So in my mind, that's what we were going to do. And then when I got approached by this other team, and I thought, you know what, there's probably not going to be too many opportunities to have the chance at running the Knoxville Nationals again. And obviously being the 60th year, possibility of making $200,000, it's pretty enticing to try to get back into the car. And everything kind of worked out well for me, and my schedules has acquired me to be able to do it. And so I'm looking forward to it.
It's absolutely awesome. When I saw the announcement, I couldn't be more excited. Shane, you literally aligned yourself with some of the best people in the business to make this whole deal happen. But I have to I'm just inquiring, because you haven't raced in a year. You understood that when you bought Port City, that you were kind of hanging that helmet up. Do you have any reservations knowing that these guys you're going to be racing with have been racing how many races this season, and you're just climbing back in for the first time?
Well, so it's funny you say that, because honestly, I have not missed racing. I've been so focused with Port City and the amount of time that it takes to run a racetrack, even at a small level like micro racing is. Not that a small level, but it's not that I'm taking care of Port Royal, right? I mean, our little tracks an 8th mile, I can probably fit 3 or 4 of them inside Port Royal. But the amount of work that it takes to just get our little facility up and cleaned and get it ready for just a weekly Saturday night, it's just a lot of work. Like, a lot of people don't understand. Some do. So when everything started happening about, quizzing about Knoxville Nationals and this and that, it got me a little bit excited again to get back in the race car. And once we got everything finalized with Bernie, he shot me a text and said, hey, what about running I-70? It's in the middle of the week, which, it was 4 hours from Tulsa. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I get in the car, and I-70 is really fast. So between hot laps and my heat race, I can barely put my tear-offs on my helmet. My hands are shaking, and I'm in decent shape just from working at the track and being out in the heat every day. But it's not in racing shape. So I'm actually really happy that I was able to get some laps there, and obviously was pretty competitive there, and that made me feel comfortable. And Bernie and I have raced together enough that when I get into his car, he kind of knows what I want to feel. we were really quick out of the gate there in hot laps and had a pretty good night. And so now I'm going to run the Capitani on Sunday, and then we'll do Oskaloosa on Monday. So I'll be able to get a few laps in before we qualify on Thursday, and hopefully that's enough. I mean, Knoxville is a tough and it's a demanding racetrack. If you're lucky to make the A main, those 50 laps, you know, when they initially, not to keep rambling here, but when they initially switched it to 50 laps, I think the driver's mentality was, you know, you kind of take it easy for the first 25 and then you race hard the next 25. Well, it's not the case. I'm telling you, the minute the green flag drops, it's game on from lap 1 to lap 50. You race every lap as hard as you can, and you have to do that to have a shot at winning that race. So it's a pretty demanding race, and hopefully I don't fall out of the seat.
We're just watching you at I-70, and with a few races between now and then, I think you're going to be just fine. Shane, hang in there with us. Everyone else, stick around. More with Shane Stewart in just a moment.
Hey Ashley, what are you up to?
Oh, I just stopped by to grab some sage fruit apples. Now I just have to decide which ones.
You can never go wrong with a Honey Crisp. They're light, crisp, and full of perfectly balanced flavor.
Oh, hey.
You could always go with one of their classics, the Gala or Fuji. They're both sweet and juicy. Grown in the heart of Eastern Washington, Sage Fruit Company works hard on the farm and with their retail partners to provide high-quality apples and pears to consumers all year long.
Well, I couldn't decide which ones. Thanks for the help, guys.
I'll race you to checkout.
Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit. Continuing on here, we're gearing up. We're all excited. We're set to go for the Knoxville Nationals, and we're talking with a driver who is set to go for the Knoxville Nationals. As a matter of fact, had a lot of success at Knoxville. Still looking for that first 410 win, but has, I believe, 5 360 national wins out there, so certainly knows the way to victory lane. Shane Stewart, he is on the Hercules Tire Hotline. And Shane, we always love talking sprint car racing and everything, but I do want to take this off the racetrack. You've made a drastic life change when you go from an on-the-road, full-time sprint car driver to a working at home at a local racetrack with Jen, with the kids, with everyone else. How has that transition been, and what's life been like now that you're not planning your next airplane trip or car ride?
Jen and Nixon have actually missed the road a lot more than what I thought they would, and I don't miss the road. I was on it for plenty of years, a lot more years before I met them or met Jen and of course had my kids. But, you know, we reached out to one of our sponsors when we were going to I-70, and he had a big Sprinter van, and we took a couple of employees from Port City and of course the kids and Jen, and I have not seen Nixon that excited in a long time just to get to the racetrack, to see some of her buddies. And you know, she always talks about Jax, and she misses Jax, and so she's pretty excited about getting back to Knoxville to hang out with him this year. But you know, it's I was ready for a change. I didn't, you know, I kind of battled it in my head, honestly, for a good year of what my next steps were going to be. I was getting a little frustrated with my career and kind of where it was heading, and I didn't really see a future to be able to support my family anymore. You know, honestly, if you don't have a pile of money behind you, it's kind of hard to get a good full-time ride these days. So, and I didn't have that. And, of course, when Port City came up that it might be for sale possibly, it was just a game changer for me. And my mind just totally 100% started focusing on that. And, you know, obviously thankful for the opportunities that I had. And there at the end of my career, full-time career anyway, with Bernie and you know, we had a lot of success last year and had some great opportunities to win some really big races, and kind of had a little bit of bad luck. But you know, the good thing about it is I was able to end my career healthy, and that means a lot. You know, there's some guys that's raced, you know, their whole life and they can't say that, and I was thankful for that. But it was time for me to make a career change, and we've been, you know, really blessed and fortunate to have Port City. It was a good opportunity for me to move back home and be around my family and have grandparents that can actually help us with the grandkids. That's another big thing that we didn't have, and But it's been fun. It's been a challenge. It's been a lot of, I'm not a confrontational person, and trying to keep all the parents happy has has been pretty tough at times, but we're enjoying it.
I love it. Just to hear your stories, especially about Nixon. It just solidifies what so many parents, I think, on the road have wondered, but this totally makes it all worth it. Shane, this promoter hat, you're about halfway through this season now. What's probably the one thing that you've learned throughout the season so far that you maybe weren't ready for?
A couple things. Obviously I knew the owners, the previous owners, really well. I've been friends with them for, most of my life. And, when you would talk to him, you would hear one of the guys, Mike Ross, actually parks beside me at Knoxville and has for the last, 4 or 5 years. So I would hear, bits and pieces about Port City and one of the things that he would always say is one of the, things that is the toughest is trying to keep everybody happy. And once you learn that you can't keep everybody happy, it's kind of like I don't know how to explain it. Me going in, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to make a couple rule changes and change this and that, and everything's going to be fine, but it's not the case. So that's been a challenge. And then learning all the engines, obviously coming from a sprint car world, there's not too many ways you can cheat. I mean, you can cheat with a 410 or 360, but it's easy to catch people cheating. And this world that I'm living in now is nuts. I've got junior sprint motors that are a small 5 horsepower Briggs that, of course, the parents are always pushing the envelope to try to make those motors quicker because they're all competitive. And I've got Suzuki engines in some and Yamahas in some and injectors and carburetors. And so that's been probably the biggest challenge, is trying to learn all that and then trying to learn how to police it, because I have some of the biggest micro engine builders in Tulsa, and it's hard to get a guy that wants to help you with tech. And of course, everybody that races out there is wanting you to do that. And as a promoter, that's one of the obligations that you have, is when they sign in to come race at Port City, you want it to be fair for everybody. And so that's been a big challenge that I'm learning as well. And but all in all, we've enjoyed ourselves. Our kids are gaining friends left and right. And my brother Darren, his 2 boys now race there in the junior sprint class. So my brother travels from Oklahoma City every weekend, and they race. And then my brother actually got into a micro and ended up winning the Donnie Ray Memorial portion of the sportsman class. And I was able to witness that. And then obviously my parents are there helping them with the grandkids. So that part of it's been really enjoyable. But just the engine side of it and trying to keep everybody happy is probably my 2 biggest challenges I've had.
You sound like every promoter I've ever talked to. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's just it's a different world, that's for sure. Well, Shane, you get back to a little bit more familiar world in Knoxville, kicking it off this week with the Capitani Classic on Sunday night, and then on over to Oskaloosa and then to Knoxville. We can't wait to watch it all happen. We wish you the best, and as always, thanks for joining us here on Wing Nation.
My pleasure, guys.
Shane Stewart joining us here on the Hercules Tires Hotline.
Power isn't born, it's built over time. For over 65 years, Hercules Tires has been providing the muscle to move more drivers. Whatever the vehicle, whatever the terrain, and we back it with a powerful protection plan. So wherever the road or the trail takes you, we have the selection, value, and strength to get you there. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
We're back here watching Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit, and it is time for the tweet of the week, and it comes from Daryl Knight. We always love these tweets. Daddy-daughter night up in Canada. It was at Port Colborne, Ontario at the Humberstone Speedway. First time in almost 2 years for Daryl. He made the 2-hour trek over, and it looked like it was a good night with him and his daughter.
Great night at the racetrack. Speaking of a great time at the racetrack, there's nothing better than a lap around the sprint car world. Let's do that now. We're going to start with a youngster, Ryan Timms. He's a 14-year-old racer from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Earlier this year on May 29th, he became the youngest driver to win the POWRi Midget Series. But Ashley, it was the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour Sprint Speed Week, and he got on fire during that Speed Week.
Dominated 8 races in that Speed Week, 4 wins, 50%, 3 second-place finishes, and 1 15th. So pretty awesome deal there for him. 5 ASCS National Tour wins on this season for him.
Great young racer, too. Great one racer. I had a chance to meet him when I was out there in Memphis. Turn number 2, New York, Canada hotbed. Last week, the World of Outlaws were at Ransomville. Paulie Cola Giovanni. I knew I would trip over it. He nearly scored the upset, finishing second in the race. And Ashley, it got me to thinking, and I've talked about this way back. I haven't talked about it recently, but there is upstate New York and Canada just some absolutely spectacular 360 racing.
Yeah, they have the Empire Super Sprints, which started 39 years ago. The Patriot Sprint Tour was 19 years ago when it started. And Canada, it's the home of Ohsweken Speedway. The Sprint Car Nationals are there. So, and they've even got the new series now, the King of the Thunder 360 Sprint. So even though we don't talk about it a ton, it's still booming up there for sure.
Booming for sure. Turn number 3, as we head our way down the backstretch into turn number 3, the legend, the 2015 inductee into the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame, Chillicothe, Ohio's Danny Smith. Saturday night, Deep South Speedway in Loxley, Alabama, USCS. How about this, Ashley? Danny Smith in victory lane again.
His first win was in 1975. Current point leader with the USCS in his 25th season of racing. He is so incredible.
It is crazy. It really is. 1 win, 8 top 5s, and 23 top 10s. That takes us through turn number 3. Turn number 4. We're going to Knoxville, Ashley. We don't need to worry about anything else. We're going to Knoxville. That is making it to the finish line of what we're looking for.
It's so true. It's going to be an awesome week. We already know that. We've already got our schedule starting to lay out, and I'm really excited about it. So excited to see the fans back for the 60th Knoxville Nationals.
And we will be doing VFW Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit from the Hercules Tires stage on Dirt Vision, on our Facebook pages, and on the Wing Nation Facebook page as well. And there you have it, a lap around the sprint car world.
I'm not ready yet. Come on. All right, I'm ready now.
Hey, Ashley, what are you up to?
I just okay. I just stopped by to pick up my sage fruit apples. Now I just have to decide which ones.
Yeah, okay.
This is what it looks like when you do it.
Ta-da!
Take a deep breath, count to 5. It's like running across a rhythm section at a motocross track.
Mine was perfect.
Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit, gearing up for the 60th running of the Knoxville Nationals. Ashley, Stremme, and Steve Post here, wrapping it up for this week. Ashley, Shane Stewart joining the list of drivers for the Knoxville Nationals. It is going to be a fascinating lineup to see who can win this race. There are a lot of quality team and driver combinations this year.
There is. We talked about it before the show started, Steve. Unique combinations for this year that we maybe haven't seen before that are lighting the world on fire. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting, but we all know at the Knoxville Nationals, it's all about how the cookie crumbles and who just happens to be the lucky one. And I'm excited that I'm going to be there this year in person to see it.
Yes, it's going to be fun, that's for sure. We mentioned our Wing Nation programs. I just think the combinations are neat. I think we've got our Brads and our Davids and our Donnies of the world and our Sheldons and our Logans, the guys we expect to be up there. We've got Brian Brown and Justin Henderson, really, really good. But the combinations like Shane Stewart, who we just talked to, with Bernie and Betsy in the 71 car. Kerry Madsen in that 14 is going to be fascinating to watch. Darren Pittman in that 39 car. Brett Marks is fast everywhere. I don't know. It's just we can continue to go down the list. That's why the Knoxville Nationals will be so good. And Ashley, I can't wait to spend time with you out at the Marion County Fair. Thanks again to Shane Stewart for joining us. More important than all of that, though, thank you for joining us here this week.